you know, about a certain particular area of interest, like maybe some sort of community thing, and I tried to fit it towards that particularly, and my project wasn't really that. And I think they can see that. The foundations can see when you're not, you know, it's very important to have your own view of what you're doing, your own, you know, opinion and direction before you actually apply for the grant, and just see what can fit into your project rather than trying to fit it. And yes, also I've left some grants to the last minute and, you know, rushed them, and, you know, that certainly doesn't help either. So you have to give yourself, depends what you're doing, but usually at least a year before, you know, before the actual project, because they take months to then approve the funding, and then you have to be able to, you know, then go ahead with the project, and, you know, and as Dan was saying, it has to be realistic. I mean, yeah, the example I gave before, you can't do that all the time. That's not sustainable. So, yeah, give yourself plenty of time.
And do you think, Janet, that there's a case to be made for the whole process of applying and acquitting of grants should be made easier? I mean, I think sometimes the forms themselves, wittingly or unwittingly, act as a deterrent. You look at them and you just think, to get $3,000, I have to do so much work, I just won't bother.
Yes. Look, I think that's a fair comment. I think with our cultural trust that our forms are fairly straightforward and fairly simple. They are, aren't they?
Compared to the Australia Council, yes.
Right. And so what? And you're right. I mean, it is competitive, and it needs to be a fit. You know, you can't sort of try and push it around the edges. But I mean, for us, it's that relationship building. It's that talking to the program manager. I mean, all those things are so important, and that can, I mean, it's interesting because in our Potter Foundation, we say for applications 50,000 and over, you must talk to a program manager. And that's because we're actually there to help, because the forms are a bit more complicated. And so now we get so many applications, 49,999. And I think, well, why don't people want to talk? Because really we're there to help. And people can ask the questions, and, you know, it's a guide. And so it's an interesting, it's something I don't quite understand. But I think with the Cultural Trust, they are simple forms, but as I say, people need to send good quality DVDs, and the number of, and it is more from regional and remote areas, that we are very strict that it has to be in by 5 o'clock on the closing day, and we get many that come, you know, 2 days later, and people from regional areas say, well, is the post is slow. But unfortunately, they just need to send it a bit earlier. I mean, that's, you know, because we can't, because then you're not fair to other people applying.
And I think another very important thing, after you get a grant or donation from someone, but even if it's a grant or one-off grant, send updates about your project, not just obviously the acquittal report, but after that, a year after, you know, tell them how you're going, because you never know where that sort of thing can lead, and, you know, you need to build up a reputation of really that sort of professionalism and drive.
Pester power.
It's really surprising. It's led to other things for me, so it's a good idea.
Can I just follow on from something you said? I have come to the mind in recent years that for us at Ars Musica, good money spent is to help people prepare their applications and their DVDs, etc. I am not averse to have given out on more than one occasion small grants of money to assist artists to prepare their organisational kit for their application. Not just for me, but here and here and here, because I know from serving on the Australia Council myself, and from applying for grants myself, if you don't get it right, you are eliminated. And so I'd rather give you $1,000 to go and have someone help you do the DVD right, and to get the photographs right. And I've even given people grants to come to Sydney and work with them for a day on how to put it together before you actually launch out and do it. Then most times people got money from that process, other than just writing simple letters and not getting the calculations and the package correct.
We've got just a few minutes left, and I thought if we raise the house lights so that we can see you, you've got an opportunity to ask some questions. So if the lights could come up to hand. roving like that will come and find you if you want to ask a question. So if you...
Can I just say something while we're waiting?
Yeah.
We talked about applications from regional areas. With our cultural trust, we get a lot of applications from Victoria, and of course we fund Australia-wide, but we really do encourage people from everywhere to look at our website and to think of applying.
So do you think that people in Victoria apply because they know that you're based there?
I think more, yes, more so. But I mean, and we fund all kinds of art practices. And one of the lovely case studies was a young girl, a dance artist and choreographer, who recently, and who's been featured in our annual report this year, went to Ghana in West Africa and did a 4-week study tour. And she was from Alice Springs, and she's gone back to Alice Springs, and now she's working with youth and kids in schools and some of the young people in Indigenous camps. And then she's also hoping to have a connection with people from the Ghana community in Melbourne back to Alice Springs. And I mean, I think those things are so important that, you know, some of these artists are from regional areas and they go back and, you know, she's brought all her learnings and her passion back into her community.
Sorry, we've got a question here.
Hi, my name is Morel and I come from South Australia. When I came down here to return to country in Tasmania, the applications that I wrote 2 applications for grants to be able to come down here, one for the airfares and one for the accommodation and the registration fee. The one thing that I didn't hear anybody mention up on the panel was that these are the first 2 things that I've ever written, and when I did write them, I had people tell me a lot to get a lot of support letters from people who knew me and that people who knew what I did in my art to be able to come down. I'm not sure whether the 3 support letters that I got helped my application at all, because you didn't mention support letters. So can I just ask the question, please?
Support letters help, they really do help. They let us know about the real you and about your passion and about your ability and about where you want to go. So they're often the first thing I read. I go from the back to the front because they know you. You wouldn't have asked them, and I think that's really important.
And I agree with that too.
Another question. Mike Chapman, I'm sorry, you can't see me.
G'day, I just wanted to hear Glen actually pitch himself to us, just so we can have a taste of how you would do that. If we had just met you, and were a potential philanthropist for you, how could you pitch yourself to us?
Wow, what an opportunity you're giving here.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm a young viola player. My aim is to become an international soloist and musician, and I am so passionate about music, and that is what I want to do in my life. I want to share music with people, and so I'm going over to study at the Royal Academy. This is ridiculous.
Keep going.
So I'm going over to study at the Royal Academy of Music, and you know, I've been given a part scholarship from the Royal Academy, and I really need some support. I need some money for living expenses as well as tuition fees. So would you be would you be interested in supporting me with tax deduction through the Australia Cultural Fund?
You should have brought the viola. You realise that you should have played something for us.
That is usually I bring my viola to people, even if it's just to show them. You know, look, this is my instrument, blah blah blah. I have a good instrument from the Royal Academy collection. It's a 1764 decade instrument, so that's always an interest point. Or if you can bring a painting or something, blah blah blah.
Was the instrument loaned to you?
Yes, it's loaned from the Royal Academy.
Right.
But anyway, about that, yeah, I've certainly had to pitch myself to people. I've had to meet a few sort of like, you know, directors of this such and such foundation or club or whatever, you know, in the centre of Sydney at this, you know, exclusive gentlemen's club or something, and, you know, so I've had to present myself professionally.
Did you have to buy a suit?
Well, yeah, I had to, dress up for it, certainly. But the other thing is writing, because a lot of what I've been doing is writing as well. You've really got to get your writing skills up and write passionately. And I found, I mean, personally, I write in a very conversational style, and that is really, it's more emotive, and it's not so drab and sort of, you know, academic. So that's really been good as well. So that's good.
How much are you giving him?
I didn't say for you in the foyer. Maybe one more. Yes.
Caroline, hello. It's Jane Haley. I'm from the Australian Business Owners Foundation, and I just wanted to comment on a couple of things that were raised, rather than perhaps ask a question if you wouldn't mind. One is, you used the phrase pester power, and I think Glen does exactly the opposite. What Glen demonstrates, because I would suggest that he's probably our new poster boy for the Australian Cultural Fund, is that it's about friend-raising, not fundraising. He has actually, I know that's a kind of glib, you know, fundraising word, but it's actually true. Glen talked about the fact that he has built relationships with people who've become friends of the family. So it's not about pitching.
Well, I think I might disagree, because at the beginning you've got to first go out there and ask, because this was a relationship that eventually became like that.
Oh.
You know, well, that particular one, she heard me, and so I guess I did my whole inspirational thing on the radio.
What is the main reason that people give for not giving?
What was it?
What is the main reason that people give for not giving?
Well,
they've never been asked.
It's whether they're exactly. You've got to go out and ask, and that's the thing, you've got to be bold in the first step. Yeah.
And if I may, we talked about community, regional, and about communities taking care of themselves and mid-career artists rather than emerging. I'll just tell you a little quick story, which is a great example of what can happen. There's a group called the South Coast Living Artists in South Coast, New South Wales. It became apparent a few years ago that there were a number of artists living there who were unable to practice their craft because they were, as Janet referred to, you know, paying mortgages, taking care of children, etc. and so forth. And so a group of more comfortably off artists, I suppose, got together and began a campaign, and every year they raised $45,000 through donations, and many of them are very modest donations, to enable every other year an artist to take a year off working in a cafe or as a cleaner or whatever they may do, in order that they could spend 12 months working on their practice. And so there's really great examples. I would very much encourage people to investigate the Australian Cultural Fund through ABAF, because not only do we have a unique facility of being able to give tax deductions, we do also have people in every state who can help build your skills around raising friends and therefore donations. Thanks.
Well, thank you for giving us a very upbeat, uplifting example with which to finish the session, and I hope you'll all join me now in thanking Glen, Janet and Clara.
Across streetways, etc., that you use the traffic lights and follow the directions of the marshals. If you're moving through Yorktown Square, please use the walkways as opposed to the traffic ways. And the other matter is that the posters are on the first floor of the Mercure Hotel, which is out there. The presentations will be happening this afternoon from 2:50 and tomorrow from 2:40, and the list is up on the information desk. Thank you.